represent me. I'm out for presidents to represent me. I'm out for presidents to represent me. I'm out for
Detroit Lions first-round pick Terrion Arnold arrested on 8 felony counts. And it gets worse. Let me tell you something. Detroit Lions fans have been through a lot. We have seen quarterbacks come and go. We have seen drafts that made us scratch our heads. We have seen injuries at the worst possible times. And we have pulled ourselves up every single time and said, it's a new era. It's different now. We are built different. And we were right. This team has turned into something special under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. The culture is real. The belief is real. But right now, in the middle of what should be a focused, locked-in offseason leading into what everybody expects to be a serious Super Bowl push, the Detroit Lions are waking up to news that is absolutely jaw-dropping. And not in a good way. Not in a we just signed a Pro Bowl receiver kind of way. No. We are talking about one of the most bizarre, dramatic, and frankly stunning off-field stories this franchise has seen in years, and it centers around a man that Detroit drafted with enormous expectations, a man who grabbed a microphone in front of 400,000 people and told the city he was the one. Ladies and gentlemen, Terrion Arnold has been arrested on 8 felony charges, including kidnapping and armed robbery, and the situation carries the possibility of a life sentence in prison. Let that sink in for a second. A Detroit Lions first-round pick, 8 felony counts, potential life in prison. We are going to break this entire thing down from the beginning. And trust me, it only gets more wild the deeper you go. Let's start at the beginning. Because to understand how crazy this story is, you have to go back to the night that made Terrion Arnold a Detroit Lion. Cast your mind back to the 2024 NFL Draft, which Detroit had the absolute honor of hosting. 400,000 people flooded downtown Detroit. 400,000. The energy in that city was unlike anything we had seen in decades. It was electric. It was emotional. It was everything Detroit deserved after years of rebuilding and believing. And when the Lions selected Terrion Arnold out of Alabama at pick number 24, the crowd went absolutely insane. Here was this confident, long, talented cornerback out of one of the most prestigious programs in college football history, coming to Detroit to anchor what everyone hoped would be a dominant secondary. And then the moment happened. Arnold grabbed the microphone, did not wait to be handed it, did not quietly stand there and wave. He grabbed the mic like a man who had been preparing for his moment his entire life, and he started talking to 400,000 people like he owned the city. And at the time, we loved it. We ate it up. This guy has the swagger. This guy has the confidence. This is exactly the energy the Detroit Lions need in their cornerback room. That was the thought. That was the vibe. The whole city was buzzing. And then the football started, and things got complicated. Arnold's rookie year was rough. Now, rookies struggle. That is not news. The NFL is a different animal, and cornerback is arguably the hardest position on the field to walk into as a first-year player. So we gave him grace. We said, he is learning. He will get better. Give him time. Then year 2 came around, and Arnold battled injuries throughout the season. A concussion, a shoulder injury, then another shoulder issue that ended his season entirely. He played in just 8 games in the 2025 campaign. 8 games. For a cornerback who was supposed to be developing into a starter, that is a brutal amount of lost time. And all the while, he kept talking in interviews, talking about how smart he was with money, talking about his relationship with Nick Saban and Saban's wife. This guy really wanted you to know that he was close with the Saban family. He brought it up in an interview, completely unprompted, talking about going over to their house for Thanksgiving. And the entire Lions fan base is sitting there like, dude, nobody asked. Nobody asked you that. It was this constant need to be seen, to be heard, to be the center of attention. And his own defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard, essentially had to come out publicly and say that Arnold just needs to shut up and play football. When your own defensive coordinator is saying that on record, that is a red flag you cannot ignore. Enter the off-season of 2026, and everything goes completely off the rails. Here's what happened. In early February, personal property belonging to Arnold and several of his associates was stolen from an Airbnb that he was renting in Largo, Florida. The total value of the stolen items was reportedly more than $250,000. That is a lot. That is not pocket change. That is $250,000 in property just gone. So Arnold reported the theft to police on February 3rd. Now here is where the story takes a turn that you genuinely cannot script. Instead of letting law enforcement handle it, which, by the way, is what most people do when they file a police report, Arnold allegedly decided to take matters into his own hands. And not in a small way. According to Tampa police, just hours after filing that report with Largo police, Arnold allegedly orchestrated and directed a group of co-defendants to lure 3 men to an apartment, where those men were pistol-whipped, held at gunpoint, and robbed. 3 men, pistol-whipped, held at gunpoint. And here is the detail that makes this whole thing even more shocking. The men they targeted were not even the ones who stole the property from the Airbnb in the first place. Investigators later determined that the 3 victims had nothing to do with the original theft. Terrion Arnold allegedly organized a violent armed robbery and kidnapping of completely innocent people in a revenge plot for a crime those men did not even commit. That is the allegation. That is what we are dealing with. 6 other individuals were arrested first in connection with the incident. Oriana Del Valle, Jasmine Randuzzo, Lindell Hudson, Christian Williams, Boakai Hilton, and Freddie Lee Hughes III. Those 6 were charged and apparently made deals with prosecutors. And then this week, the trail led straight back to Terrion Arnold himself, with authorities naming him as the primary conspirator and the man who allegedly coordinated and directed everything. On Wednesday night, Arnold turned himself in at the Orient Road Jail in Florida. He is now facing 8 total felony counts, 3 counts of armed robbery, 3 counts of kidnapping, 1 count of conspiracy to kidnap, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit armed robbery. He appeared in court virtually on Thursday, and the judge ordered him held without bail until a pretrial detention hearing scheduled for Monday, June 29th. The state attorney's office is pushing hard to keep him locked up until trial. And those charges, 6 of which are categorized as first-degree felonies classified as dangerous crimes, carry a potential life sentence. A potential life sentence. Now Arnold's representation has come out swinging. His agent, Denise White of EAG Sports Management, issued a statement saying Arnold categorically denies any involvement and maintains his innocence. The statement argues that there is no credible evidence linking him to the allegations and that the government is relying on testimony from multiple convicted felons who made plea deals and may have every incentive to shift blame to lighten their own sentences. And look, that is a legitimate legal argument. That is standard defense attorney territory, and in the American justice system, you are innocent until proven guilty. We have to acknowledge that. Nobody is here to sentence Terrion Arnold in a YouTube video. But what we can say is that the charges are serious, the details that have been made public are alarming, and the Lions organization has an enormous decision to make in the very near future. The Lions, for their part, issued a brief statement saying they are aware of the legal situation and will not comment out of respect for the ongoing legal process. And honestly, that is the smart move right now. You do not throw fuel on a fire when you do not have all the information. But nobody in Detroit thinks this ends with Terrion Arnold playing cornerback for the Lions this season. Nobody. The writing is on the wall. Let's talk about what this actually means for the Lions on a practical level, because the football implications are real and they are significant. From a salary cap perspective, the situation is not a total disaster, but it is not nothing either. Arnold signed his 4-year rookie contract worth $14.3 million back in 2024, and there are still 2 years and approximately $4.8 million in guaranteed money remaining on that deal. If the Lions release him, they absorb some dead cap hit. However, and this is important, the NFL's collective bargaining agreement has a provision that allows teams to potentially void guaranteed money and recover some of that cash if a player is suspended for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The moment the NFL launches its own investigation, which you know is coming, and suspends Arnold, the Lions can potentially get out from under a significant portion of that guaranteed money. So the financial damage is manageable. This is not like cutting a $40 million a year quarterback and eating a massive dead cap number. This is a rookie deal, and while it stings, the Lions will survive it financially. What hurts more is the football reality. Because entering this 2026 season, the Lions secondary was already something of a question mark, and Terrion Arnold was supposed to be a big part of the answer. DJ Reed is your number 1 corner, and DJ Reed is still one of the better boundary corners in the NFC when healthy. He had an injury-shortened 2025 season dealing with a hamstring that sent him to injured reserve, but he has come back healthy this offseason and looks to be in good shape. Rock Yasin has quietly proven himself to be a reliable, trustworthy corner. He is not going to blow you away with highlight reel plays, but he is solid, he is dependable, and he has earned the trust of the coaching staff. The question now becomes, who is your CB2? Because that was supposed to be Arnold. He was penciled in as the starter opposite DJ Reed going into training camp. Now that spot is wide open, and the Lions have to figure it out fast with camp just around the corner. Ennis Rakestraw is the guy everybody is looking at now with even more urgency. Rakestraw was also a 2024 draft pick, and he has had his own injury issues, which is part of why the conversation around this secondary has been so complicated. If Rakestraw can stay healthy and step up, he has the talent to be a real contributor at the CB2 spot. But there's a big difference between has the talent and has proven it under fire. Roger McCreary is another name in the mix, but McCreary projects best as a nickel corner, and you do not want to pull him out of the slot and ask him to play on the boundary if you can avoid it. Keith Abney and Christian Izien can contribute in the nickel as well. But the reality is that the Lions now have more questions in the secondary than they did 48 hours ago, and those questions need answers before the season starts. And this is not even the first time this franchise has gone through something like this. Remember Cam Sutton? He came to Detroit. He was supposed to be their number 1 cornerback, and then he got arrested. Gone. Just like that. The Lions had to pivot, trust their depth, trust their development, and move forward. And they did. That is the thing about this organization under Dan Campbell. They do not panic. They do not get emotional. They get to work. Before Sutton, there was Jeff Okudah, who Detroit gave a real opportunity to, and it just never clicked. And going all the way back, the Lions have struggled for years to find consistent cornerback play outside of Darius Slay, which is exactly why they have been building this room with multiple bodies and a developmental mindset. The frustrating part about Arnold is not just what he allegedly did. It is what he represented as a potential solution to a problem this team has been trying to solve for a long time. He was the guy. The big, physical, confident corner who could finally give Detroit an elite presence on the boundary. And now that chapter appears to be closing before it ever really began. And one last thing before we wrap up, because the football stuff does not stop at cornerback. The Lions still need answers at running back behind Jahmyr Gibbs, and the name to watch there is Sione Vaki. If you are not familiar with Vaki, he was a fascinating pick by Brad Holmes, a player who was a safety in college that the Lions decided to convert to running back. Never really got a chance to develop because of injuries in the depth chart, and even when healthy probably would not have seen a ton of action behind David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. But David Montgomery is gone now. And while Gibbs is an absolute superstar, a legitimate weapon that this offense runs through, you simply cannot feed Gibbs the ball on every single play and expect him to stay healthy all the way through January. You have to manage his touches, keep him fresh, and get to the postseason with a healthy superstar rather than an overworked one. That is where Vaki comes in. If he can finally stay healthy and show what he can do in stretches of games this season, that is a massive deal for this Lions offense. And then there is Isaiah Pacheco, who Detroit signed for a surprisingly low number, which makes you wonder about his health and how much he actually has left in the tank. There are real questions there too. But all of those questions are secondary. If you enjoy these kinds of deep dive what is happening right now with Terry don't forget to like and subscribe. What we are watching unfold is one of the most bizarre and genuinely sad stories in Detroit Lions recent history. A player who grabbed a microphone in front of 400,000 of his future fans and told Detroit he was ready, now sitting in a Florida jail cell facing 8 felony charges that could put him away for the rest of his life. Whatever happens in that courtroom, the football chapter for Terrion Arnold in Detroit is almost certainly over. The Lions will move on. They always do. This team is too well built, too well coached, and too talented to be derailed by one player's off-field implosion. But man, what a story. What a wild, strange, and honestly heartbreaking story. Detroit drafted this kid, cheered for this kid, believed in this kid, and this is where we are. So drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Where are you at with all of this? Are you shocked? Are you frustrated? Did you see the signs? Let me know, because I genuinely want to hear from the Lions fan base on this one. And if you are new to this channel and you want real, in-depth Detroit Lions coverage that does not sugarcoat anything and does not waste your time, hit that subscribe button right now. We are here every single time something major drops, and we are going to keep breaking it down for you all the way through training camp, all the way through the season, all the way to wherever this Lions team takes us. Like this video if you found it valuable, share it with a Lions fan who needs to know what is going on, and we will see you on the next one. Let's go Lions!